Morning. This is Minister Peaceful Poet. The name of this video will be Free Palestine. And I'm making it because of the supposedly ceasefire. It looks like it's going to really happen. I should have probably made a video right away, but I was just not sure. But now I'm pretty sure it looks like it is going to happen. I was going to talk about Donald Trump because honestly, I'm a little confused about that. I was never really a Donald Trump supporter. I didn't vote for anybody this time. It would be the first time I've never voted. But I've always defended Donald Trump because I always thought that a lot of lies were told about him. A lot of hate was sent towards his way. Way more hate than, I mean, let's face it, Bush Jr., when he was president, he didn't hardly get any hate at all. And yet, when Donald Trump goes to run for president, man, they just pile the hate on something awful. So you have to wonder why all the hate. You got to wonder. So I wasn't never really a supporter, but I was always a defender. And then when he went ahead and bombed Iran like I didn't want him to, well, then I was kind of upset. But this peace deal, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that. And I'm like, yeah, is this another one of these, photo op things, where he just wants to be popular again. He just wants that peace, that Nobel Peace Prize. But no, I think this is for real. So I'm beginning to think maybe Donald Trump is a good man. I don't know. I don't know. And I was going to bring up all these scenarios and ask you guys for your opinion, but I said I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to skip that. Let's just talk about Palestine. I used to write poetry every day, and since this war started with Gaza, I've hardly been able to write, and I've been watching it closely. And gee, man, you could make a video hours long about this. You really could. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to try to keep this as short as possible because I think everybody is waking up. Everybody is seeing. I don't need to tell you anything that either you don't know or you won't know, because there's a lot of stuff coming out. I've heard that CNN is, I don't watch mainstream news, but I heard that CNN is really covering this well. So that might be, if you're a television buff and that's where you get your news from, that might be the direction you go. I don't like Fox News. I really don't like Fox News, the way they're covering this. They're tearing it up. They're like, for instance, one guy on Fox News says, why isn't there any parades in the street for the peace deal? And well, because this isn't the first time this has happened. There was when Donald Trump first became president, there was peace. And aid was going in, and hostages were being released, and then all of a sudden, Israel just decides to just start bombing Gaza. And Donald Trump didn't do nothing about it. And I wasn't too happy about that. So, could that happen again? Well, we hope not, but we're not sure. We're not sure, and that's why you're not seeing the parades. And Fox News just likes to criticize. I don't like Fox News. I watched a little bit of CNN with my mother in the hospital, and I watched it with her, and they're covering it pretty good. They're not 100% though. At least what I was watching. I haven't watched them recently. I've heard that they're pretty good now. It's covering Gaza, it is anyways, but anyway, so I'm making this longer than I need to, so I just need to quit on that. Let me explain something. Trump, and I've even sent him a comment about this. Trump says, oh, this has been going on for thousands of years. And no, this has not been going on for thousands of years. That's a big lie. And I don't really think Trump knows, to be honest with you. And a lot of people don't know, because there's been so much propaganda that everybody knows the propaganda, but nobody really knows the real truth. But everybody's learning it. It's coming. Palestine is Israel. And Jesus was a Palestinian. Yes, he was an Israelite. He was a Palestinian because Palestine was Israel. What happened is Rome was constantly going into Israel and going to war with them and beating them up, and finally Rome decided, well, we're tired of beating up Israel. We're just going to change their name, and I believe they changed it to Philistine. Yeah, that's what it was. They changed their name to Philistine, and the Palestinians at that time were called Philistines. And this was meant as an insult, because if you know the Bible, supposedly Israel went to war with the Philistines and they conquered Philistine, and this is how they got their land. Of course, historians say that that's not true, that never happened, but that's what the Bible says. So this was meant as an insult for them. And then later on in history, I believe it was Turkey, but I'm not 100% sure about that, but the name was changed from Philistine to Palestine. And the reason was, from what I understand, is just interpretation of words, just a different interpretation of words. That's the way I understand it, but I could be wrong about that too. But what I'm not wrong about is that Palestine is Israel, and Jesus was a Palestinian. Now, yes, there are Muslims in there, but there are also Christians and there are also Jews. And when Israel became a state, they came from Europe. They weren't the same Jews that were living there all this time. They came from Europe. The Zionists who created the state of Israel came from Europe. They're not the original descendants. So when they say God gave them this land, they're full of it. God did not give them that land. They have no DNA connected to the ancestors who grew up, who lived in Palestine. That's just a big lie. The Jews that originally did live there, because there were, an agreement was made with them that they don't have to serve in the military. And this was the same agreement that Turkey, I believe it was, I don't think it was Turkey, it might have been called something else, and it was too, as a matter of fact, but I can't remember what it was now. My mind is not too good at names. But they also had an agreement with the Jews that lived there, and that was that the Jews would not have to join the military. They would just have to pay taxes. Well, when the state of Israel came along, they did the same thing. You don't have to fight in the military, you just have to pay taxes. Now those Jews are the original Israelites, okay? The Christians, an agreement was made with the Christians when it was under the Arab rule that they also didn't have to fight in the military. They just had to pay taxes, and that was it. Well, when the state of Israel came about, I don't know what agreement was made with the Christians. That I don't know. I don't know if they were required to serve in the military or not. I don't know. I just know that the Jews are not required to. Now the Jews in Israel, the original Jews, the ones who were there before the state of Israel existed, they don't like Israel. They don't like the state of Israel. They don't like Zionism. They're totally against Zionism. Have been, well, maybe not have been from the beginning, but as time progressed, they just got more and more upset with them. And the last breaking point, I guess, was when Netanyahu says, well, you guys are going to have to serve in the military. And they said, no, we're not. No, we're not. And that's when everything that was one of the things that caused everything to break apart. So, now who are the Muslims over in Palestine? The Muslims, and this is a part that's really weird. The angel Gabriel visited Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a dream, telling him to go to Jerusalem and build a temple. And that's where the Temple Mount came from. Now, Muhammad didn't ever go. He just shared the dream with everybody, but he never did, and I don't know why, but there was a lot going on. I mean, there were a lot of wars going on, there was a lot of stuff going on, so, and it might have been a good excuse. I don't know, but he never really went to Jerusalem. But after he died, the Arabs who took over the Islamic religion they marched into Jerusalem. And there was a small clash that occurred, and it occurred most likely, I would say most likely it was a group of Christians that existed there. Because when Rome renamed Israel to Philistine, you remember in the Bible, there were Jews who became Christians. So there was a large group of Jews who became Christians. And then there was a group that didn't become Christian. So you had Christian Jews and you had non-Christian Jews. And, now the story Israel is telling you is, they all left. Well, many of them did leave, but not all of them. Some of them stayed. And when the Arabs came to Jerusalem, to take Jerusalem in order to build their Temple Mount, they fought with somebody. They fought with somebody. They were either Jews or Christians, but they did fight with somebody. And it was a very small fight. It didn't last very long. And eventually the Arabs had it. They owned it. It was theirs. And they made an agreement with the Christians and the Jews who lived there. The agreement was, you don't have to fight in the military, you just have to pay taxes. And that agreement existed all the way up until the state of Israel took over. And I don't think the state of Israel honored the same agreement with the Christians, but I know that they did honor the same agreement with the Jews that were there. But that's the original Israel. Palestine is the original Israel. And Muslims live among them because they came and they took over and they built the Temple Mount. But this thing about they were been at war for thousands of years, that's not true. It was a very short war. It didn't last very long, and the Arabs took over and they built their Temple Mount, made agreements with the Christians and stuff. There was a war that happened, but it wasn't a war with those who lived there. The war came from the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church came along and, waged war to win Jerusalem back, and they lost. They lost. They fought the Arabs, and the Arabs pushed them all the way back to their borders. And when the Arabs pushed them all the way back to their borders, the angel Gabriel told them to stop there, not to go any further. So that's how that happened. And from that time on to the time that Israel became a state in the land of Palestine, which was the original Gaza, which was the original Palestine. From that time until there was peace. The Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims, they lived together in peace. There was no fighting. There are pictures of, rabbis and I don't know what you call Muslim priests, but there's pictures of them all together, just walking down the street, talking, discussing scriptures or prayers or whatever they discuss with each other. They were friends with each other. They got along with each other. There was no enemies. And they respected that. I mean, this is well documented. So it was a horrible, terrible thing. The state of Israel came along and pushed all the Palestinians out that weren't Jews. They protected the ones who were Jewish, but all the ones who weren't Jews, they began to push them out. And that's, to this day, that's what they've been doing. And they're still doing it. I understand, even though there's a peace deal, there's still some bombing going on. I just saw a report about a helicopter, an Israeli helicopter, I understand was taken out by Hamas. But it started bombing people, and Hamas said, and it went out. But that happened, I don't know, a couple hours ago, I guess. So it's still going on, but it's not going on as much, and it looks like the peace deal is really going to happen. And it's going to happen because Trump is in charge. And that's why it's going to happen. Not because Trump's a good man or anything, but because he's in charge, and he's a very powerful man, and he's a powerful man because he's done things right. Now, why he didn't stop Netanyahu in the first place, when Netanyahu just started, when originally broke the peace deal that was arranged by Trump or Biden. It was arranged by Biden, but it was enforced by Trump. And then Netanyahu broke it. Why he did nothing, I don't know. I'm not going to just immediately say he was a bad man, because I think there are things going on that we don't know about. Bigger things. There's a lot of evil in this world. A lot more evil than you would possibly imagine. And so we're not all free to do whatever we want to do. We got to kind of like make arrangements, which I think that's what might have happened here. Trump had to clear some things out. He had to make some arrangements. He had to do some stuff to make this happen. And he did. So I'm beginning to think maybe he's a good man. I might be wrong though. This may not even go through. So I don't want to say nothing too quickly, but I just really am happy that aid is finally going in there. It's terrible what's happened to those people. And many of them, not the Muslims, but the Jews and the Christians who live there, they are the original Israelites. And I'll be proven right, trust me. And the European Jews who came over, that's a terrible story. It is an awful story. And that may come up, and it may not. But I'm not going to go into that because that's not important. That's the past, and it's not that important. What's important is tomorrow, not yesterday. Tomorrow is important. And I'm happy. I'm happy. Those people have suffered so much. I would listen to Al Jazeera every single day, and tears would just well up in my eyes from the awful stuff I would hear. And it is just unbelievable how they could be so cruel. And the pundits, and they're still making excuses. And the last thing I heard, and it kind of upset me, was you turn on the radio, right, the AM radio, and every Christian station you can possibly find, all of them are going to support Israel. All of them. And they won't lift a finger or a voice for the Palestinians, when in fact it is the Palestinians, half of the Palestinians anyways, who are the original Israelites. Jesus was a Palestinian. And these Christians, they either refuse to believe this or they're getting paid. They're getting money from Israel. That's what it comes down to. So, money talks. Israel is sending them gobs of money, and so they're just saying whatever Israel wants them to say, and they're taking the money. And there's a place for them. They're the goats. When Jesus comes and separates the goats from the lambs, they're going. They're gone. And I don't feel sorry for them one bit. Not one bit. They're gone. But yeah, there's the last time I was listening to this radio station, there's this Christian minister gets on there and says, "Oh, pray for Israel so that they will be safe from Hamas, or Hamas won't attack them, or whatever. They'll be safe from Hamas." And I'm thinking, really? Well, who's going to save the Palestinians from Israel? And I just, that same day, I watched this video about this poor mother who lost 5 of her children, and the boy was left, and he was blown on top of another building, and he can't walk, and she lost her husband, and it was just really sad. Her whole apartment was just blown up, and there was no warning. They say they warn them, but they don't always warn. They just do whatever they want to do, and they tell us something different. That's what it is. And I'm pretty smart. when it comes to recognizing propaganda. I've gotten pretty good at that, and there's a lot of it out there, and it's on both sides too. There's propaganda for Palestine, yeah, it's out there, and there's propaganda for lots of propaganda for Israel. But it was awful. It's terrible, and her question is why? Why did this happen? These kids were playing. They didn't do anything to hurt anybody. They were just playing, and they're all wiped out. But that's just one story. I mean, they estimate 300, the death toll will be in the hundreds of thousands, the real death toll. The only ones that were counted were the ones they knew about. But even Israel admits that these bombs that they have make people disappear, and they laugh about it. They laugh about it. My hair is kind of a mess. I just took a bath, so it's still wet. But yeah, it's. I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad that aid is going in there. They're still not getting enough aid that they need, but they're getting a lot more than they were. They're getting 600 trucks a day, and they're opening the Rafah border, and that's a good thing. So that means that other things will come in as well, but you won't hear about that. But it will happen. Like my mother asked us, says, how did those roads get so cleared? And I said, well, they brought in road graders, but they didn't tell nobody. They just did it. And they don't tell nobody. They kept it secret. I don't know why it was a secret, but they did it. And they didn't tell nobody. That's weird. But I'm glad, and I thought we were going to go to war with Iran. I'm wondering, we still might though. Still might happen. I hope not though. I hope Trump is smart enough to keep us out of that. But the peace deal was a very complicated issue. Even though war wasn't going on for thousands of years. I mean, it's still the peace deal was a very complicated issue. It really was. And Trump is the only one who could do it, honestly, because he made friends with their Arab neighbors, and he's able to work with. He gained the respect of the Israelites. So that was a plus. I mean, the rest of us would have ruined it. I mean, we would have, you're genocidal maniacs. Oh no, and we would have bashed them and criticized them and condemned them and judged them, and that's not the way you do things. And then you have on the right side, you have, let's kill all Muslims, let's ban Muslims, let's not allow Muslims in our country, yuck, 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 Muslims. It's awful, man. It's terrible. So it took someone like Trump who could work with the Arabs and work with Israel. He didn't judge either one. He just talked to them like they were people. And that's what you got to do. And that's that. Trump is the only one who could have done this. As much as I know people out there, man, think he's the Antichrist. And for a while there, I kind of wondered myself. But there are a lot of things going on that we don't know about. So I'm not exactly 100% sure. But it's happening. And I'm glad it's happening. And I thank God it's happening. And we can't stop now, though. When people share videos about kids being all torn up and stuff like that, don't criticize them. Allow it. It's got to be done. It's ugly. It's terrible. It's painful. But it's got to be done because we can't hide these things. We can't hide these things. What happened was terrible. And people got to see that. They got to realize. Because I hear things like, the things I hear, oh, it's all Hamas's fault. Oh, it's all Hamas's fault. No, it wasn't all Hamas's fault. And the evidence is there. And the evidence needs to be shown because there are people out there who just refuse to see. So it needs, prove it to me. Show me a picture. There you go. It has to be done. But if you see videos of kids playing and families having a meal together, enjoying themselves, share that too. Share the happy things. Share the joy as well. But don't shy off from the terrible things because those things need to be shown as well. people need to see. And I think eventually everybody is going to wake up to the truth, and it's already happening. It's already most people have, and more people will. And some people will say, "How?" It's just like it happened. I guess it just happened in Germany. You know, all these people supported Hitler. Hitler was very popular. You know, Hitler was like the most popular person in the world. I mean, the most popular person in Germany, man. Everybody loved him. And then after the war, everybody was like, how could we love this man? How could he have done this, you know? Well, it's about the same thing, you know. Everybody's supporting, you know, Israel. Yay. And then the time's going to come and they're going to say, well, how could we have supported this? How could we possibly have supported this? But it's got to come to that point. All this ugly stuff has got to come out. It's got to come out. So allow it. Don't criticize people. Everybody has their part to play. We're not all the same. We're not robots. You know, everybody's going to do their thing, their way, and your way is not the best way. Okay? But we all got to do something. We all got to do something. Give if you can. Now you can make contributions. I made my contribution to UNRWA, because now the aid's going in there, so it's, you know, something's really happening with it. For a long time I didn't give anything because I knew that it wasn't getting to them. Nothing was getting to them. But now I'm making my contributions, and I ask that you do too. Support them that way if you can. Repost things, make comments. Making comments on posts makes that post more popular. So realize that. On X, what a lot of people are saying, just put a dot, you know. And so, you know, if you can't think of what to say, you don't know what to say, just make a dot. Just put a period in that comment and hit return. That brings up the popularity on that comment, because this needs to be, can't hide this. Can't be hidden. It's got to go. So share what you can, support what you can, give money what you can. Educate yourself if you have the time. I know it's a tough world, man. Some of us have 3 jobs. I know. But do what you can. And free Palestine. Love and peace.